All right, so we're going to finish up the head here. And what I'm going to do is you need to actually cut the hole for the power adapter to go down here that the plug is going to go into. But I don't want to show you how to do that because I don't know what power adapter you're going to be using. So you need to physically get that device, figure out how you're going to fit it in to the inside of the head, and then cut a hole that's the right size for it. I don't know if it's square or round, depending on which one you choose. So again, that's kind of like the hole I cut here. You're going to need to go find, because you may use a larger switch like this. I've got just a ton of different kind of switches, and you're going to want to cut a hole to fit whatever device you're using. I'll help you with that if you need help. Just let me know how to design and plan that out. I would recommend having the power cord come out the back of the neck. That way it kind of goes down the torso instead of the back of the head where it will like pop out and kind of dive down the back. And it will also mean that there's less strain on the cord by going straight down instead of coming out and turning. That bend, that turn creates a fray over time. All right. So, but last thing we do need to do is we need to build in some support so that we can have screws in the four corners of the head to hold the head nice and tight to the body, but without whatever. So we don't have to glue it. That way we can open it and fix things if we need to at whatever point. So to do that, what we're going to do is actually going to go back to here, and then we're going to just hide the top of the head. So body's here. I'm going to look at the head, and we're going to hide the top of the head. So there's really kind of two options for this. The first option we're going to do is build in sort of a shelf in all four corners so that the lid can sit on it and then screw down into it. The two options are, do you want the screws to be, when you screw it on, do you want the screws to stick above the surface and be like a little metal bump? It's kind of a cool look. It can look from the front kind of like almost two tiny horns, which is kind of an interesting look. Or we can build it so that they are down inside and inset into it. Now I'm going to be using a number 6 screw, which is about like this. It won't be this long, but it will be this size, just a little bit shorter actually. But the length doesn't matter that much for what we're doing. So I'm going to use the option where I'm going to inset it. So it's kind of below the surface. So from the front, you won't be able to see it very well. Check that. I'm going to do the easier one, which is just to put it right on the surface. If you want to inset, talk to me and I'll help you with the inset part. But I'm just going to do mine right on the surface. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a construction plane. I'm going to do it right at this bottom surface where the bottom of the top of the head is. And I'm going to just say, okay, I'm going to create it right there. And then I'm going to create a sketch on that. And I need some dimensions to work with. So I'm going to create a little triangle in here that sort of creates a shelf. So I need to have some points to work with. I'm going to do it from right. I need that corner. That's going to be one of the corners I'm going to use. And maybe I'm going to do it that far away and that far away. So now I have those points. I can actually turn the rest of the head. Oh, I didn't project them. Turn the head on, and then we say okay for the projection first, and then turn the head off. And now I'm just going to draw in a triangle. That's going to be the shelf that is attached to the head. And it's going to stick in, like it's going to be what the screw kind of screws into. So I'm going to turn the head back on now. I'm just going to see what's going on. Now I need to cut tabs into this, not yet, but I'm going to make this multiple layers thick. And that bottom layer is going to have a tab that sticks out. So I'm going to make this actually a good 3 layers. Yeah, a good 3 layers thick. So I'm going to extrude this. I'm going to go down. And I'm going to go down a thickness. So I need a minus because I'm going in the opposite direction. Minus thickness times 3. Now before I hit OK, it's going to join all of these pieces together and just ruin everything. I'm going to hide the head. And then I'm going to say OK. Give it a second to build it. It's getting kind of full. I'm going to actually put the light wall in the head because that's where it should be going. And then this body 45. This is a corner brace. So I'm going to call this corner brace. And that's good. And then now what I want to do is I want to build in a little tab kicking out from here so that, and it's on the bottom side of it. So I want to be here on the bottom side. I'm going to create something here. And I'm going to want a tab to kind of pop out in this direction to stick into the piece of wood. So I'm just going to go here right at the corner, and I'm just going to go the top. That's going to be 1, and the other one's thickness. Enter. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm just going to go, that should be thickness, and then that's 1. And then I'm going to extrude these. And I want it to be 1 thickness, but I want to go back towards the material. So I'm going to say negative thickness, and it's going to join them, and I'm going to be, yep, perfectly happy with that join. So now you can see, let's turn the head back on, we'll flip it back around, and you can see now there's a little shelf there, and then the screw is going to go down into that. And we'll cut a hole in this for the screw in just a second. So to finish this off, though, we do need to rotate this around, and we need to build one in each corner. And we're going to do something kind of fun. We're going to do mid-plane, and we're going to mirror it across the side. So we're going to do a mid-plane from this outside to this outside. I'm going to click OK. And what that does is when you do a mirror, you got to define where the mirror is. So a mid-plane is right in the middle. It'll do it just right. Now, if I do the next thing, which is create mirror, I click on, I want not faces, I want the entire body to be mirrored. So I'm going to take this, and then I'm going to choose the mirror plane to be that. You can see it's just built it right there. I'm going to say OK. So now that one is right in there, which is kind of cool. So now what I want to do is I want to come over and mirror both of those two to the front. So I'm just going to create another mid plane halfway between the front and the back. Click OK. And I'm going to come here to create. I'm going to do a mirror pattern. I'm going to do this one and this one. And I want my mirror plane now to be this plane. And it just did both of them. Bam. They are all done. Now, I haven't cut the holes on the sides yet. But one of the neat things about this is look how this kind of looks like an eyebrow now. So that's kind of a fun detail to have in there. Just make sure that this distance here isn't too small. If it is, you may have to just, once you've mirrored them, I would go in and extrude that back down to flat and then extrude a new one farther over wherever you wanted it to be. So it's that could be a little black spot here and here. It's almost like maybe these are eyes and this is a mouth. I don't know. It's like, well, light's coming out. Who knows? But I think it gives a nice little touch of personality to your lamp. All right. And now what I'm going to do is turn off all these construction planes because I don't need to see all the yellow planes in the middle. I'm not using them anymore. And now let's cut some stuff. So I'm going to cut this side. I'm going to use this piece and that piece. And I'm going to do a cut. And I'm going to keep my tools. So now I've cut that one in. I'm going to go around every side and do that. So I'm going to combine. I'm going to cut this side using that one and that one. Okay. And then I'm going to combine. I'm going to cut this one using that one and that one. Okay. And then the front, I'm going to do the same way. I'm going to combine. I'm going to cut this using that and that. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to put the top back on and I'm going to cut some holes. So where is the top? There it is. Top of the head back on. And I'm going to create a sketch right there. And I want to project on the shape of that for all of them, for the corner braces. So I'm just going to push P for project. And I'm going to come over to my list. Oh, it won't let me select it. Okay. Oh, it will if I choose body, though. Yeah, so once I choose body, it will do it. It'll just give me an outline of the body on there. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm cutting the hole to for the screw to go into, because this is thin plywood, and if we just try to force a screw in there without having a hole for it already, we're going to split the plywood and cause ourselves lots of headache. So I'm going to cut a hole first for it, and I'm going to undersize it just a little bit so the threads can grab. So when I'm doing this, I'm going to click on my thing, and I'm going to actually, normally I would put it in sort of sideways like this, so I'm grabbing the outsides of the threads to find out how wide it is. And that's good for the outside holes. So the top layer of plywood, it says it's 0.356 centimeters. So I'm going to round that up to 0.4 because I want the outside layer to not be touched by the threads. Otherwise, it'll get chewed up. So the outside hole is going to be 0.4 centimeters. Now the inside holes, I actually want them to get eaten by the threads. So if I go out to the tip where it's really sharp, I can actually get in there and down to the bottom, and I can say, okay, this says 0.279. So maybe I'm going to round that down a little bit, make the hole a little bit smaller. So I'm going to do a 0.25 centimeters for the inside. I'm going to write that number down too because I'm going to need it later. 0.25. I'm just going to check the first number because I don't think I wrote it down right. Yeah, I did. Okay. All right, time to rock and roll. So I'm going to do the first hole. Yeah, just do it one thickness. So actually I'm going to do it all the way through. And I'm just going to draw that hole here, and then I'll fix it in a certain point in just a second. This should be a 0.4. Enter. And this may have been, I should have done this before I mirrored the corners over. That way they would all be mirrored with the hole already cut. But I did not, so that's just life. And now I want to center this sort of in the middle here. So what I'm going to do is grab a line, make a construction line. I'm going to start in this corner here and then drag until I get perpendicular. See how I got it there? Like this isn't perpendicular, but right there is. It's not the center actually because I did it weird. It's right there where it's perpendicular. Although it doesn't really matter as long as you're consistent, the hole will be consistently placed. And then I'm going to do my coincidence tool. And I'm going to say I want the center of this circle to be, actually I'm going to do the midpoint tool. I want the center of the circle to be in the midpoint of that line. And no, I don't like that actually. Control C. I'm going to do it. There we go. I'm going to do it coincident, and I'm going to move it where I want it because I kind of like it where it is right there. And then I'm going to dimension it, the center of the circle from here to here, and I'm going to see what that says. So it says 0.89, so I wonder if I just go 0.9 to make life easier, and then enter. All right, so I'm going to write those numbers down. I want it 0.9 from the corner. Okay, so yeah, I can actually mirror this one. So what I'm going to do to mirror this, I need to create a mirror line. And I'm going to do that by finding the middle. Which one's middle? The problem now, they're all little lines, so it's hard to tell which one's the middle. So I have one. Oh, I just can't tell. What's the best way to find the middle of this box? Well, let's do this. Let's go back to the top. I'm just going to draw a box, a construction box, and I'm going to collinear with all the outside edges. So now I have an actual box that's the same, that doesn't have all the little tabs cut into it. And I'm going to hide the head for right now. And I'm going to then take from this corner to this corner. Oh, that's enough. And now I know that that is the middle, like the middle of this line is the middle of the rectangle. So I can do a, right here, I'm going to do a horizontal line. That will give me a mirror going this way. And then another one from there up. That'll give me my mirror line for left and right. So now I can actually just take this and I can mirror it. I can mirror this drawing. So here I'm going to create a mirror, one object. My mirror line is right there. And I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to mirror it again, except this time I'm going to mirror it on this line. Okay. So instead of relining all that up, I found the center of the square and then, oh, I didn't get it. I just got the center of that one. So I'm going to Control Z that and then do it again. So I'm going to mirror it. My objects, I want to click on the outside of the circle, not the center of the circle. And then here, here, and yep, now I've got circles. I'm going to click OK. And now everybody is perfectly ready to go. I'm going to extrude that, but I got to turn the head back on so I can actually have something to extrude through. And this larger circle, I'm going to extrude just one thickness. So minus thickness, enter. Okay, now I need to create so I'm going to hide the top of the head real quick. I need to create the smaller hole in there. Oh, which I can do on the top of the head actually. Let's just keep the top of the head in place. I'm going to create another one. And now I'm going to do the smaller of the two circles. For me, it needed to be a 0.25. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to do it a little bit smaller even. I'm going to just do a 0.2. And then I'm going to do that on all of these. And now I'm not going to do the whole mirroring thing on this one because it's so easy to line them up because I already have a circle from before. And I'm going to do a here and a 0.2. And then I'm going to do it here and a 0.2. Enter. And now I want to extrude these. And this is something where I'm going to take away everything except the corner braces. So I'm going to hide everything but those corner braces. And then I'm going to extrude it down and through and then say, you know what, I just want to go all the way through that and then click OK. And now I've got those holes cut. So my screw will go down very easily. My life will be easier later. Otherwise, I have to drill it out with a drill, which is, you know, that's a totally fine way of doing it. And yeah, so done, done, and done. So let's turn the head back on. Let's take these corner braces and let's send them into the head. Minimize that. And that, I mean, you may not believe it, but that is a finished stickman lamp. So yay for us. I should say stick figure. We didn't obviously give it a gender. And that's what it looks like when it's totally done. Or at least that's what mine looks like. Yours might look a little different, which is pretty kind of cool looking. I'm digging it. All right. Oh, actually, there's one last piece that we need. And we need the piece that's going to fit, the piece of plastic that's going to fit over this front wall. So this sort of frosted plastic in the front. And we need it to fit around the shelves we just made, but clear that. So here's what we're going to do. We got one last piece to do. So I'm going to turn everything off but the head, re-zoom in on that. And I need to turn off everything but the front. So I'm going to open up the head. I'm going to turn the bottom of the head off. I don't need that. The right head, no. Left head, no. Back of the head, no. Top, no. Light wall, no. I don't need those back two corner braces. Doesn't really matter if I leave them on. I do want the front two on there. And then, yeah. Oh, I want the front two on there. Oh, this one. And so now what I'm going to do is build a design around this. And it's just going to be just kind of fun building it kind of thing. So I'm going to go here. And I'm going to want to draw a rectangle, maybe that starts, I'm just going to do a random one to start with. And now I'm going to collinear it. Actually, I'm going to dimension it just a tiny bit away from the edges. because I don't want it to be too big. Like if something goes wrong, it's a little bit too big, it's going to force the joint out. So I want this piece of plastic to be a little bit smaller than the outside edges of the head. Because the laser might cut the plastic a little bit less than the wood, and then it might be just not fit. We don't want it to not fit. A little loose, we can glue down and not a problem. A little too big, we've got to try to cut it down some way. Huge nuisance. So I'm going to dimension this edge from this inside edge, and I'm going to say it should be just 0.05. That's just like a little sliver in there. I'm going to do that for this bottom side as well. So this should be 0.05. And then for this side as well, 0.05. So that fits perfectly in the bottom. And then what I want to do is do the same thing, but I want to do it for this edge right here. And I'm going to say 0.1. I'm going to do a little bit more of a gap there, just for safety. Now I need it right here at this point to kind of go up here and around this. So I'm going to grab another rectangle, do it there and then there. And I'm going to do 0.1 around all of this as well. So I'm going to dimension this to here. That's 0.1. Enter. Dimension this to here as 0.1. And then finally this to here as 0.1. And then I'm going to say finish sketch. Yes, finish sketch. Yes. No, I didn't want to finish. That's okay. I just hit extrude still. I can still use the sketch, but I didn't need to finish it. That, and I want the center, and I want that piece. I want all of that. And I'm going to make this one thickness. So here I'm going to say thickness and enter. Although the plastic might be a different thickness, it doesn't matter. I just want it to be one layer when I do stuff with it. And I think I just joined it. So let me go back and right click on this, edit feature. Yep, I want to do a new body because I want a separate piece because it's going to be plastic and not plywood, hopefully. And this one is going to be the frosted plastic. Now it doesn't look very good on my model anymore. I kind of wrecked my model because now it looks like there's like this hard surface there. So what I'm going to show you next is just kind of have some fun with materials in Fusion 360. So I'm going to use the A key, and that's going to bring up the appearance window. And there's all these different kinds of things you can do. So I'm going to take this one actually as textured glass and just a frosted glass. I'm going to grab this frosted glass and drag it onto just, actually I'm going to drag it right here into the frosted glass. I'm going to do it here or in the drawing. So I'm going to do it right to there. And now it's got sort of a, well, it's not very frosted looking. I'm going to try a frosted light. How does that look? No, not super nice. All right, so now at least it looks clear, but it still exists. And what is glass clouds? Oh, so this one needs to be downloaded. I can just hit a quick download here if I need to download it, and it'll just take a second to download it. And let's see, let's look at that. Oh, that's kind of fun. It kind of gives it a look to it. So I like that. It makes it look like it's there at least. And then, yeah, so we can do leathers. We can do all kinds of looking things. For the rest of them, what I want to do is play around with color a little bit. And you can do the same thing. So here I'm going to go down to paint. And you can see there's like tons of different paints in here that I can mess with. So some are going to be glossy, some are not, you know, whatever. You can just grab them and you can put them on individual components. So you're like, you know what, I want to make the head a glossy black with like a spray paint, right? So I could spray paint this, open up the head. I only need to do the ones that are, you know, so face, back of the head, and I think right head. Let me try this and see if I can do two of them in one. Never tried that before. So let me rotate around and see if it actually worked. Yeah, and then I think I need the bottom of the head too. Yep. So here I'm going to put right at the bottom of the head. And then one thing it might be nice to say, okay, I want to do the neck as red. Maybe I can just drop it on the folder for neck. So let's try that. I'm going to say a glossy red on the remove appearances, no, cancel. Okay, so that didn't work. So I'm just going to open up the head. I can click on the first one, hold down the shift key, click on the bottom one. Oh, that's the head. I want the neck. Click on the top. Oh my gosh, what have I done? Escape. All right, so I'm going to go back to the appearance window real quick. I think it's all, yeah, so the top is black. So if I wanted to make the whole neck red, I could just click on all of it, and I could just grab the red and drop it there, and it'll make everything red. And that's like, okay, but I'm going to make the torso, and you can do whatever you'd like. Like I'm going to make the torso here, shift, have all of them highlighted, and this one's going to be, ooh, I like the green. Green looks cool. And you can kind of play around with colors so that when you go to make it, you can do it. You can also say, hey, you know what? I like the look of the wood. So I'm going to come here to wood and I'm going to say like, oh, let's look what oak would look like. And for the thighs, I'm going to highlight all of those and I'm going to make them out of oak. Boom. And then the two legs down here, I'm going to do those out of oak as well. Or maybe I'm doing a chair. I'm just going to go wild and make it weird looking. Why not? So this part's optional. It's just so you can get a feel for what you're going to look like. I'm going to do this on a pine. Obviously, I probably wouldn't build something. Well, maybe I would. It does look kind of cool. But we can create spray paint looks and we can create wood toned looks as well. All right, so that is it for the making of the stick figure lamp. The next thing we're going to need to do is in the next video, we're going to take it all apart. So we're going to create a copy of it. And then we're just going to dismantle and flatten all the pieces out so the laser can actually cut them. And then we're going to create the DXF files and the cut lines and all that awesome stuff next. Okay, thanks.